Let me see the
All
red light.
Burgundy, Gold Everything post game, Fox Sports Radio 90.9 FM, 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. The Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Washington football team 20-16. Glenn, Wole, myself, Ray, we're in the building. Your week one thoughts, fellas. Wole, I'm gonna let you kick it off.
Man, it was they started off slow. Team started off slow, but I think if you're a Washington football team fan, you're definitely disappointed on certain things. You wanted to see more pressure from that defensive line. You didn't see the line as dominant as we all kind of thought it would be. But I saw some things I saw last season. To be honest with you, a lot of things I saw last season. You started slow. First half wasn't pretty good on both ends, right? And then the second half you played better. Like they did this all last season. So it was something that you wanted to see them start fast. It was a shame that Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt, but you saw Taylor Heineke come in the game and give this team momentum and get that added boost of energy. I think Mo has stated this, and we talked about this via text, right? That Mo has stated this. Mo stated that something about Taylor Heineke. He just gives this team energy, right? So he gave this team energy. Gibson played well, but if I had to put a bow on it, that fumble was costly. I think that changed the whole output of the game. The score is 26. At the time the score was 16-13. The team just had a turnover by William Jackson with a big play. So now they had the momentum. Now you lose a fumble. I mean, you lose a fumble. They scored a touchdown, 20-16. So it's pretty tough. But again, I would like this team to start fast. They just didn't.
Yeah.
Glenn.
Hey man, they didn't start fast. Offensive line had some problems earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Early in the first half. They kind of fixed it in the second half when Heineke came in. Something I want to disagree with you on, the Gibson fumble, I don't think really cost the Washington football team the game because if you look at it, I think the Chargers were going to score anyway. They was driving. If you go to the series before then, they was driving down the field and just got a great interception by Thomas, which caused them. Washington defense or the secondary didn't stop the Chargers all game. Justin Herbert, he's my fantasy quarterback this week, so I had mixed feelings. but was going both ways. But he found an open receiver. And they stayed in zone too much for me. I stayed in zone, and he was always finding a hole in the zone. When you got to bring a guy in when you brought a guy in like Jared Cook, he was a tight end guy that could really find a open hole. And so, therefore, they got beat on every level. I mean, when you think about it, Williams dropped some balls that he should have had. And so this game, to me, Washington, even though they lost, it could have been much worse than what it is. It could have been much worse than the score. And so I think defensively, the front four are great. We need to get a little bit of pressure. And I think the biggest thing for me to take away from this game was third downs. Washington had the Chargers in third and long several times, and they couldn't get off the field. I think, Ray, we talked about, I think there was 17 for 19 or 14 for 19 on third down.
14-19 on third down, yeah.
14 for 13 on 9 down. Come on third down. You have to get off the field. You're the Washington football team defense. Get off the field and give your offense a chance. And that's what they didn't do, and that cost them the game. Look at the drive. Look at the last drive. Look how many third downs they had on the last drive. He picked up 23 yards on one of the plays on the last drive. Doesn't make any sense. Get off the field. Jack Del Rio, get your defense
together. so guys, this is week one. As Glenn, you may have mentioned on air, off air. We can't overreact. It's just you have to build off this. That's what I'm looking for. In week one, what I'm seeing is I'm comparing how you look this game in comparison to last season, and also how can you build. So some things I noticed. First of all, last season, slow starts plagued this team. This year, you get off to an extremely slow start because the Chargers marched down the field with no issue. Now, I mentioned pregame that it was going to be hard to figure this team to start because you didn't have any film on this team. You didn't have any film on the coaching staff. And Ron kind of alluded to that when he talked to the media on Thursday. No problem. But still, you don't want to get behind early. Secondly, it's some guys that I didn't like their play individually. John Bostic is one. He looked good to end last season. From all indications, looked good in training camp, but he looked hesitant, in my opinion, today. St. Juice looked like a rookie. That's fine. You can build off that. I'm glad, I will say on a positive note, that Scott Turner coming out of halftime adjusted. He started to get the ball to Terry, which is your main guy on offense. And to me, along with Taylor Heineke, that helped the momentum, of course, swing in your favor. But the defense couldn't finish. Another area I thought was a positive, Dustin Hopkins played well. He was a concern going in. He played well. Hopefully he'll silence some critics. The focus will now shift to the defense for this coming week. And also, of course, Coach Ron's decision not to punt, which either way, you were going to have a hard time stopping. You're going to have a hard time stopping this Chargers offense. So I guess the question is, how does this defense adjust moving forward when quarterbacks get the ball out quickly?
I don't think – I mean, again, I think we have to look at who you're playing against too, right? You're not going to play against a Justin Herbert 24/7. I mean, when you're playing high quarterback talent, like what you're going to see this season, like Aaron Rodgers, there's something you're going to have to adjust.
Mahomes too.
But you're not gonna see guys like Justin Herbert often. Like to me, he's damn near elite. I think that highly of him. On our show, I said it. Only part I was concerned. What I was concerned about was him. It was him. He was the concern. Everything else it sounds, but he was the concern. And we forget we forget how good Joey Bosa is. Like we forget. Like Joey Bosa was an animal. He was an animal. He was everywhere. But in terms of the defense, I don't think there's anything there's some things they can fix up tackling. Like maybe limiting zone a little bit more. You got guys that were out of place. I thought that St. Juice was a rookie and they saw it. They picked on him. And you're going against Keenan Allen or you're going against Mike Williams. They were going at him with the back shoulder throws. That's something he's going to have to adjust to. He's going to get that kind of playing time. He's going to have to adjust to it. So those are things that stood out to me. That the Chargers went at that play often. They went back shoulder throw, one-on-one. They isolated him and they made sure he had no help. Because you're going to pay attention to somebody like a Keenan Allen, but they made sure they had Mike Williams. If he was on Mike Williams, they isolated him and they made sure they took advantage of it. So to me, defensively, there's two things: you get more pressure, and if you're going to play zone, you clean up that zone. You know what I mean? And you communicate better on the back end. That's what the defense needs to do.
Your thoughts on Antonio Gibson?
Oh, Glenn, you can go.
Minus the fumble. Your thoughts on Antonio Gibson?
Glenn, I think he had a good game. I think he had a decent game. He got 90 yards. 20. They gave him the ball 20 times, which is great. He had 20 carries. 20 carries for 90 yards. I think Washington's team averaged 4.7 yards per carry, 120 yards rushing as a whole team. So I think giving him the ball in which he's a dual threat, he can go out of the backfield. He can run. I think it was great for him. Yeah. I like Peterson. I think he came in spills, and we saw a little bit for him. Patterson. Patterson. So we came in for spills, and we saw what he could do with him. Gibson, the fumble's key. In that situation, you down in your back with your back as well. You got to hang on to the football. 2 hands on the ball. That's high school. That's little league. That's high school and little league. 2 hands on the football. In this situation, you have the lead, right? Because at this time, you have the lead. You just want to maintain the ball and run the clock. So your hands on the ball. I understand he was trying to make a cut, and White came from the other side. But still, 2 hands on the football, which is key there, and that's costly. I mentioned in my last point, I think Washington was going to lose this game anyway because, again, I'll go to my point. The Chargers were in the red zone 6 times. Yeah. The Chargers were in the red zone 6 times. They only scored on 2. All right? Scored, 2 times. So, you got to understand that they was in the red zone. So, that's one of the biggest things there. Washington, the defense has to limit teams. We talking about the elite quarterbacks. When we face the Aaron Rodgers and teams like that, those guys are not going to leave points off the board. Nah. They're going to put 6 instead of putting 3 up. They're going to put 6 up.
Yeah, and like I said this before in our prior show, the Chargers have weapons. They do have weapons. You see it, like they have weapons. It's not like you have Justin Herbert and no weapons. Right? You got Keenan Allen is arguably to me, and as everyone saw, is arguably one of the best wide receivers in football. And to me, one of the more underrated top wide receivers in football. Then you have Mike Williams, who we've seen in Clemson, and we know he has a boatload of ability. He just has to get healthy, right? And you saw what he got to do in that one-on-one coverage with St. Juice. But back to the question about the running back, he played great. I felt that there was a lot of improvement. You know what I mean? And it's so messed up. But everything has to be talked about throughout this. We're talking about a post-game show. We got to talk about the whole game. And that was a big play to me. Because, again, regardless of what we think about what would have happened or what could have happened, it's momentum. It's that point juncture in the game. You hold on to the football. You have a long, sustained drive. Maybe like you do what the Chargers just did. You drain the clock, and maybe you don't even get Herbert on the field. You fumble that football now. They're blown. Like the Chargers are blown. Herbert is blown. He just threw a pick in the end zone. Like he's upset, right? You take this opportunity to kind of put your foot and just step on it. This is what good teams do. Like this is what we talk. Good teams do. They take advantage of it. You take advantage of it. You get the first. You like you said, Glenn. You wrap onto the football. You got to understand the situation. Great running backs. If you want to try to be a great running back, you understand situations. You get to a point where you're too close to this side of the field. You hold on to that football. You protect that football. That's the first thing. You go down and you live another day in terms of the down and distance. Right, live another day. So. if for him, you could tell it was mental because even after that, he dropped the ball like the next drive, like on the screen. So you could tell it was getting to him, like you could see it. So for him and for Antonio Gibson, in terms of his performance, it was a good performance. Can't say great. It was a good performance. But it would have been great if he didn't fumble because he did a lot of things, man. He made a lot of moves. He looked very elusive. He had a burst, Ray. He had a quick burst, and he had his jump cut was amazing. So I think in terms of as a growth for a running back, yeah, he should. I think if you're a Washington football team fan, you should be very excited because you can see the growth.
So
yeah, I think you're excited.
Go ahead. My bad.
No, I said I think you're excited. I think the running game will be better than it has in the years past. We knew that had been one of the Achilles heels of the Washington football team, that we didn't have a running game. We had quarterbacks that wasn't capable of throwing 40, 50 times a game. This time, I think the running game will establish, and it does what we needed to do, which the team needs to do, is to run that clock.
Yeah.
Wole brought up with that drive. I think the killer drive in the whole, if we look at the whole game, was after Washington got the turnover and the penalty on Brandon Sheriff.
That too.
That backed them up to now make it a 51-yard field goal. And then I don't like the play call after the penalty.
That was horrible.
To me, was a horrible play call. Turner has to do better than that. You do a little screen. I mean, come on. It's 3rd and 7, right? It's 3rd and 7. You need to get at least inside so you make at least under a 50-yard field goal. And you can throw a little screen outside. Nah, go down the middle. Give me a hitch. Give me a curl. Give me something in the middle of the field where you give your players like McLaurin and those guys a chance to make a catch, and you give Dustin Hopkins a chance to make a field goal.
Yeah,
and that puts you up. That puts you up 6.
Yeah,
that puts you up 6.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is go back to Glenn's point to that too, right? Like, and I don't want to hear excuse about quarterback. Like you got a young quarterback. You're not sure what he can do or what not, or he may not be ready for the situation. Well, we saw what he did last year. You trust him a lot last year in the postseason against Tampa in a high pressure game. So obviously you trust him enough, right? You trust him enough. So you could trust him against, say, the Chargers to give him an opportunity to make a play to get the first down. Don't do anything that's safe. If you trusted him in that playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, then you should trust him enough to pick up this first down. And he's already played in terms of the game. He's already played enough. He's already made enough solid plays in the game for you to trust him to pick up this first down. So I'm with Glenn. I think the play calling was too passive in that situation. It was too passive, too conservative. You go for the first down. You go for the win. That's what if that's what the good OCs do, right? That's what the good offensive coordinators do. They go for the.
I want to ask you guys this. Okay, so of course this is week 1. We already established that we're not going to react. However, the critics are going to come for those fans and those analysts who are pegging the Washington football team as a favorite to come out of the NFC. We've seen the videos. We've seen the tweets. Yeah. So after this week 1, where you faced one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, you did not fare well. Is it fair to say that, listen, if you really want to be a contender, you got to play better against some of the top guys, including Holmes, Aaron Rodgers, of course, Justin today. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, this is my thing. They scored 20, regardless of the fact. It's not, they're playing against one of the elite guys. It's 20. It's not. When you usually play an elite quarterback, we've all seen it. Still, they've done it against good defenses where they scored 30. They scored 20. So, I mean, if you look at Herbert, if you look at Herbert's stats against good defense last season, you scored against good defenses. So it's not like this defense could look. This was an off day for the defense. They gave up 20. It's a bad day for the defense, and they gave up 20. Right? That's what it is. And then, but again, if you look at what we saw them do prior, like last season, we saw games where they started off like, oh man, the offense is moving up down the field in the first half, scoring anything doing whatever. Like they may not score touchdowns, but they've been moving the ball up and down the field. But the second half, they make the adjustments. So you look at this game, they scored 13, right? They scored 13 in this. 13 in the first half. So they scored 7, and the 7 was on a fumble. Basically, was on a fumble touchdown. Now, granted, you can say they moved on into the field, but the 7, the defense took the ball away. They took the ball away on that Willie Jackson play. So they made the play. It wasn't like that was given. They made the play. So the thing about it is like the defense in the second half, they need to go back. They need to learn and it's something the whole unit needs to do in terms of the coaching staff and the defense. They need to learn how to put a whole game together, period.
Sure.
Not just having the adjustments, because they've always if we want to look at track record, even last season in the run, they did the same thing. The second half was always their best half.
And I just want to say, I told you guys before, and Wole, we discussed this. I felt like it was going to take a few weeks for things to gel on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Some people disagree and say, no, defense is set. It's already ready. No, you got some new pieces. You got McCain, you got Jackson. You it's going to take time. So you can't stress out over one game. And I like, again, what you just highlighted, the in-game adjustments. I even think Scott Turner, as I'm gonna reiterate, adjusted well coming out of halftime. Although you said a complete 4-quarter game. Can Scott Turner put together a complete 4-quarter game? You're like, wow, he picked his defense apart, because the Chargers, they knew what to expect and they exploited it.
Yeah.
Scott Turner needs to do that moving forward. It was tough to get film on this Chargers. I'll be interested to see how Dallas plays the Chargers next week. But moving forward, I think Washington will be fine. I'm encouraged by the run.
But I have doing something to say, like in terms of Scott Turner. So this is an example. All right, and this is a knock. So you saw how St. Juice was abusing St. Juice. They went at him consistently, right? That the Chargers had a game plan. They're like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take advantage of St. Juice, right? Flip side, I think Adderley went out. The cornerback. Adderley went out for a while. He went down. That's the number 2 cornerback. I want to say the number 1 and number 2 cornerback. Nobody tried to target it. He didn't even try to target that. The backup was in the game and didn't even try to test him like that.
And see, I love that point, because I want to bring it up as well, because you're coaching football. When you see a D lineman or a cornerback, or you see a second team kid come in, we're going after that kid, because guess what? If that kid was that great, or that player was that great, I know it's the NFL, they would have been the starter. But guess what? I want to see how much he knows. What's his learning curve? Is he prepared to get it done? So I'm going to take Nick's shot. I'm going to go after him. Maybe put a double move on him. I'm going to try to formation him to where McLaurin is out there, or bigger Cam Sims, someone like that can get positioning. And he didn't do that. And he didn't take advantage of that. And I think that's a great point there, because you have to got to know the situation and trust Heineke. And I think you said it earlier about Heineke. I wanted to add, not only did he play in a playoff game last year, you had him all mini camp, you had him all training camp, and he's your number 2 quarterback. So he's been, truth be told, he's been in the system longer than Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
So you should have enough trust in him to open up your playbook, unless there's something that you see that you don't want nobody to know. So the playbook should have been open for Heineke, able to play the game.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we do not like Scott Turner on this show. I'm just being real now. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but we can't even hide our bias. I'm not even going to lie.
I can't hide it, bro. I can't even hide it.
So with the health of Fitzpatrick hanging in the balance, what do you do moving forward? If Fitzpatrick is healthy enough to play this coming week, do you play him?
I don't think he's going to be
because healthy. The running game, to me, the running game is so good under Heineke.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was better.
It was solid. It was solid regardless, though, bro. It was good both ways around. It was good with both parties.
Okay.
I think that Heineke, it was a different added energy, and I think Karita had I saw Karita Parks on Twitter, the homie of the show. Yeah, she said Karita said that, you know what, that they were preparing for Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So that does play a part too. Like their prep was Fitzpatrick, wasn't for Heineke. You know what I mean? So the Giants will come into this situation when they play the Giants. They'll go into that game should be prepared for Heineke, to be honest with you, because it's a short week. So it's going to be hard if he missed the whole game, it's going to be hard for him to get ready
to play. So we assume that Heineke's going to be the starter.
Assume Heineke's going to be the starter. So we'll just have to be set with that. But I don't think that's to be honest with you, in terms of skill set and talent, and just because and moxie, I don't think there's that much of a difference. I mean, there may be a difference in knowledge of the NFL. That's what Fitz has probably over his knowledge. But we're talking about mobility. I mean, Heineke has the mobility aspect of it. But in terms of willing to make a play, like these two dudes are willing to make plays, right? They're just willing to make plays. And Heineke will throw it up too. I think like people act like he'll throw it up too. So it's all about, to me, it's going to be, to me, it's all the pressure's on Scott Turner. It's not to me on Heineke. Put this kid in a situation to be successful. And I just think that, we'll see what happens.
So guys, before we look at the Giants preview, I want to ask, grade each unit, defense, offense, special teams, and offensive line as well. If you want to, D-line, however you want to break it down. I want to hear your grade, and also just your overall team grade.
All right, Glenn, you go first.
Oh yeah, man. Overall offensive line, I've got to give them a C-.
Nice.
First, I'm gonna be nice. This is why I give them a C-. This is why I give them a C-. They get a C- one because you had a 90-yard rusher.
Yeah.
All right. Heineke threw for over 120 yards coming in the second half. He had that. They for the most part, the second half they kept him upright, and a lot of that had to do with his mobility. First half grade, you know, you had to teach it. First semester you didn't do great. Second semester you did better, right?
Facts. I've been there.
Right? So they did better. They did better in the second semester. So I give them a C. Wide receiving core. I think a wide receiving core today. You know, kind of. I'm gonna give them a C. I'm a high, maybe high B in. They did catch some things. They didn't really miss too many balls. Didn't really throw too many. They didn't miss too many balls. And so they didn't miss too many balls, which there. And anytime Cam Sims catch a ball is a good day, right? But yeah, it's a good day. Defensive line, I give them a B. They did have pressure, but he was just getting the ball out too quick. I mean, that's the thing. The timing Herbert had was great. When you got a quarterback who gets the ball out quick, your D line, I don't care how great they are, how quick they are, you're not gonna get to them. Now, when they were able to get to them, hold the ball because the secondary, a lot of the sacks, or even when Montez Sweat was able to get to him late, a lot of that was because of the secondary was actually doing their job early. So when you see secondary do the job, they didn't give that defensive lineman opportunity. Secondary gets a D for me. The secondary gets a D for me because even in zone coverage, you still have to rally to the football. Yeah. And while watching it, he was able to exploit the zone, but you didn't see too many times that guys were catching the ball and there was neither corner nor safety in sight or in screen coverage. Or covered a TV screen. So therefore, they had to rally to the ball. And by that time, he picked up extra 5 or 6, 7 yards by the time they rallied to the ball. If you have your zone, you're supposed to be able to cover ground quickly. And I didn't see the Washington secondary covering ground quickly like they were supposed to. Now, late in the game, and now they did tighten up. I do give them credit this. When we got into the red zone, they did tighten up.
Oh, they were tightening their zone.
They was tighten up in the secondary, tightened up in the red zone. But when they were playing the whole 100-yard field, when they had space, when I want to say San Diego, when the Chargers
it's a force of habit. It's a
habit. Yeah, when the Chargers had space and the field was widened, they was able to exploit the secondary. So I had to give the secondary a D on there. Special teams to me, I give them an A because the special teams kept us in the game. With Hopkins, the missed field goal. I'm not going to blame it on him. I blame it on Brandon Sheriff for backing up 51 yards.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the special teams. I think special teams are amazing. They're great. The Carter return game so much different from Sims. Sims Jr. So I thought the return game was good. The punting was good. The field goal kicking was good. I mean, 50 is hard to make. So
are you giving them an A? You giving the special teams an A, bro?
An A.
It sounds like
it. They get an A. They get an A.
Okay,
definitely get an A for me. Defense, I'm gonna give a C because to me it's half. Like I don't look at it like one half. To me, with the first half, you had like a D, and in the second half, to me, I give you like a B. The first half,
20 points.
Yeah,
20, you got to factor that into
20 is not bad. 20 is not bad
right.
In today's NFL. 25 is not bad at all, to be honest with today. Like that's good in today's NFL, but especially when you're playing against a good offense, right? And everybody was touting the Chargers offense anyway. But you give up 13 in one half and 7 in the second, so I'm gonna give you a C. But I agree with all Glenn points. I thought the defensive line could have played better in terms of stopping rushing the passer because there were opportunities where he did hold the football and he still had time in the pocket. But I do think that towards the end, you sometimes started stepping up. But also, I have issues with rotations. There are plays where they'll take out Sweat and Young in key situations, and I'm like, all right, you need this. This team has the momentum. These are your two best players. You got to have them on your line. I mean, in terms of dynamic players on your defensive line, and you're not utilizing them. So I had an issue with that, but I'll give them a C. Linebacker core could have been better, but it is what it is. But I'm gonna go to offense. Offense, I'm going to give a. You got 13. You got 16. You scored 16. I'm gonna give you like a D. Offense, I thought it was a D. I know there's injuries that playing a part, but in terms of it's what we saw last season. Everybody who complained about Alex Smith last season, she complained about this whole thing this season. You know what I mean? And right now, not the whole, but the first game because 16 to 16. You know what I'm saying? Like 16 points and 16 points. That's not going to do it. You know what I mean? You talk about you think this team can be a certain way. Or if you take away Alex, we can do this now. All right, cool. You would think you can get 20. You got 16, and you had an opportunity to score. So I don't want to hear anything. So now is it just I'm not going to talk about who I want to talk about, but it is what it is. But yeah, so to me, I get offense a D, and I give offense a D.
Did you get O-line a grade? I know.
O-line is horrible. It was horrible. I mean, together it goes all. I'm doing it as a lump sum, but the offensive line gets a D too. I mean, I guess I can give it a C. I could give it a C because I do, like Glenn said, I don't want to make it one dimensional. Like it's just all passing. They did a good job in the run game. So I'm going to give them credit on doing a good job in the run. They did a good job in the run game. We have to give them credit with that. But in terms of pass protection, they're horrible. They're like Leno and Cosme, they were getting beat. Like it is what it is. And they were getting beat. And they were getting beat on both sides. You know what I mean? And you may not get sacks out of it, but you saw the push. There was so much push. Like there's a reason why, and there's a reason why Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt. Them dudes it was not just one hit. Like they were coming. You know what I'm saying? Those dudes were coming, and they were coming constantly. And you got it's just something they're gonna have to get situated. You know, there's all this talk about the offseason about this offensive line is coming together, or we can let Morgan Moses go. This, that, and the other. It didn't look that good. It really didn't look good at all.
Not at all.
Chase Young individually, what do you think? What did you think about him? Maybe you can give him a grade real quick. I'll give you the best player on the field.
I will say this. Let's say this in terms of the matchup of Ohio State. Bosa was the better defensive end today. It's not a knock on Chase Young. It's just that he flashed. That's what he did. He was more dominant. It is what it is. I don't think Chase Young played bad. I don't think he played bad at all. I think he was solid. He wasn't. If I have him a grade, I guess because he got into the backfield, made a nice play against the run even on that last drive. So he did his job before they closed it out. I give Chase a B-. It wasn't nothing terrible. You know what I mean? It wasn't horrible. But if we're looking at being a superstar, who was the best defender on the field? The best defender on the field was Joey Bosa. He's the best defender on the whole football field was Joey Bosa.
So we have about 3 minutes left. Guys, what are you looking for in this Giants game? What adjustments are you wanting to see? I'm going to start by just simply saying, don't start off slow. This is a division game. You want to win all your division games. That's important. We saw how big the division was last season. It wasn't very good. So far, you're tied with the Cowboys. So you're not in a bad position yet. It's the first game. I'm just being real.
That's a Cowboys fans. I love it.
You got to look at it glass half full of
the Eagles looking good, though, man. Go ahead. Continue.
And they played the Falcons. So I was not shocked at all by that result. Although I'm excited for Jalen Hurts because he's always proved people wrong. Anyway, but you want to win a division game. Quick turnaround. What are you guys looking for in this upcoming game against the New York Football Giants? I'm sad that Mo's not here for this one.
I'm just looking for me. I mentioned earlier, get off the field on third down. Get off the field on third down, and don't give up 424 yards like you did today. Give it up 424 yards in the NFL, you're going to lose almost every time. You're supposed to be a solid defense, and you gave up 424 yards. You can't give up 424 yards to a New York Giants team whose offensive line really still isn't that great. You have a Saquon Barkley who's coming back off an injury, and you have a Jones, a quarterback who's not proven in the league yet. So guess what? This is the division game. And in the past, we go off the past. Washington is not really successful against the Giants at home. At all.
Let's leave the pass behind, Glenn.
We're gonna leave the pass behind. I know it's Sunday, so we ain't going back to Egypt, right? We're gonna move forward to the promised land.
Okay, I know that's right. So might be in the wilderness right now. We might be in the wilderness, baby. We need some bread.
And I'm looking for Heineke too. I'm looking for Scott to open up the offense. I know it's a short week, but open up the offense a little bit because teams now have film on Heineke. Whether it's a short week or not, they have film. They have 2 games to look at. One last year, playoff game, this game, and that's what they're gonna be paying for. So he has to be able to get the guy open and get receivers the ball more. Get McLaurin involved early. Take a shot down to Brown early, and you gotta get Cam Sims. We've got to have 3 receivers involved, and I need to see a running game.
Yeah, man, I would love this. I'm with you. I think definitely getting off the field on third downs. You know what I mean? Like that's essential. If you want to be a good defense, you gotta do that. Right? Like if you want to be a dominant defense, you gotta get off the field on third down. So you gotta do that. You gotta open up the offense a little bit more. We can't. It was cool last year with the excuses, but we gotta see it now. We gotta see you open it up more. I did like that you used Antonio Gibson more in the pass game. I did like it. I was a fan of it, but you just got to start doing that. This is what it is. You're going against a Giants team that they have a solid defense. I'm not gonna keep it a buck. Giants defense is good. You know what I mean? Like it is good, and you're going against Saquon Barkley. That all reports is that he's going to be healthy. We'll have a better indication of watching the game, but you're going against, and he's a guy that has killed this franchise, when healthy and on the field. So there's some things the Giants possess that should be scary for this football team. But they're going to have to get pressure. We're gonna have to see them rally to football, use their team speed that we saw in the offseason and saw in preseason. They're just and to me maybe play more man. You know, that zone. You know, maybe they're playing a little bit too much zone. Play a little bit more man because obviously today against Herbert, that zone just wasn't cutting it. So there's a lot of adjustments to be made. I'm sure if I'm a defensive player, because that's supposed to be the identity of the team. If I'm a defensive player, you know, I'm checking myself, I'm checking my teammates, I'm checking my coaches. Like we gotta get all this together, because if we want to do what we want with that, folks have said that this team could do or can do, and people in the building believe they can do, then it's time to show it.
Looking forward to discussing this as the week progresses. We'll have more thoughts. Check us out at All Burgundy and Gold Errything on what's that Wednesday. I guess we'll be having that new episode coming out. Hopefully Mo will join us. Check Real Glenn Thomas. You can see his Twitter handle at 1340 AM Fox Sports, and of course at Urban Sports Team. Hey, hit us up, man. Post-game reactions. It's gonna be fun to see what the fans say, because we already know how fans are like getting ready for
Armageddon. It's like Armageddon out here, man.
They're struggling out here. Listen, but I will say this: you started 0-2 and 0-1 in division. I would push the panic meter that much further. Hey, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold Errything with Urban Sports Scene. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed one.